Okay. No sleep in my eyes. All right, I think we're good to go. My son will be home here in a little bit, so I'm just waiting for him to pop in as he usually does. But while we're doing that, let's go ahead. Hey, welcome back to BG3. This is the 5th episode, and I am so excited. This is probably the episode that I am most excited about so far, and I'm just praying that it will bless a lot of people. We're going to be sharing, I said we as if I'm multiple people, but no, we haven't got to that episode yet. Anyways, I'm going to be sharing some resources that I have come to know along the way of struggling and making it. So currently I am receiving a huge resource that God really just has blown my mind with. It's paid my rent several months this year, and I'll be sharing that here in a little bit. But first I would like to start by saying that God is a God that is on time all the time. There is never a time where he is not on time. And I am learning to get out of his way. He will literally provide you with everything you need at the right time when you need it. And it's things, thought I heard my son. It's things as small as saying things, like speaking. I used to think that I had to defend myself and I had to say my piece when I wanted to say it, how I wanted to say it, and everybody was going to hear me out. And it didn't work out that way, hardly ever. So now I'm in a space where I allow things to be as they are, and I pray about it and I ask God what to do with it. And for the most part, I have been listening to him. And in listening to him, he has presented me with a greater platform to say the things that I would want to say in a better way than I could probably ever say it. So I'm going to give you some examples so it makes sense. I did business with somebody I went to school with. They do great business. Let me just preface that with that, okay? What I'm about to say is in no way, shape, or form how I feel about her business specifically. It was just this one-off instant with me. Because I did business with her before several years ago. When I was first really getting into real estate, she made my business cards for me, and they were phenomenal. They still to date are my favorite business cards ever, which is why I went back to her to remake this. I'm with a new team, new state, new everything. So let's do this again, but even better this time, right? That's what I was feeling like. Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So there was a little bit of confusion, I guess, about what I wanted. I was very clear about what I wanted up front. I'm like, hey, I want to do this again. I just need this information this time. Well, what she sent back, the proofs, they were not what I had said that I wanted. So she was like, oh, okay, well, to do it this way, we got to add $35, this, that, and third. Anyways, there was just a little bit of miscommunication up front. Cool, no problem. It happens all the time. Not with her, just in life, okay? Life is full of getting things right. So, yeah, I gave her several opportunities to do things right, and when I got the product, it was the wrong color and the size was so small you can barely see it. I almost want to like get one, but it doesn't even matter. It's like, oh, it's cute, but what can I really do with this? So I let her know, wrong color, size is very, very small. I could barely read it. And she's like, and I even sent her a picture, but I guess the picture wasn't clear enough because she was like, no, it should definitely be black. Can you send it up against something black? So I did exactly as she asked. And she was like, oh yeah, it definitely is the wrong color. As if I was wrong. As if, you needed all this. Like, anyways, I just feel like communication, there's better ways. You could have been like, hey, I'm sorry about first apologize. First take accountability that there's issues here that I have and we can move forward instead of like really just being defensive and being like, no, it should be the right color. Put it next to something like, I didn't think that was the proper way to go about it in the first place. But anyways, we carried on. I waited over a week. I did not hear a response. So I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go with another option. Can I just get a refund, please? Simple as that. I wasn't going to say nothing about the issues I had, nothing. Just let me get a refund and we can move forward. Because like I said, I want peace in my life. So if God wants me to say something, he'll give me the opportunity to say it and it'll be clear. And this happened. Because I was like, let's just end the business relationship where we are right now. Gave me the money back and we cool. because I did not get the product that I wanted. And it seems like I'm not going to, because it's been over a week, and I haven't even gotten an update or an ETA on an update. So she kind of tries to save the deal a little bit, but I was just like, honestly, it's not just the product at this point, because she forwards me the email that she gets back from the company that she ships from, and it's got coding and verbiage that I don't even understand. And so I'm like, well, I don't know why you're sending this to me. This is your call. Like, I don't deal with your shippers or your suppliers. I'm dealing with you. And I told you what I wanted from up front, and it hasn't been clear for some reason or another. So I'm like, honestly, it's more than just the product at this point. It's also the customer service. Like, you have not been hearing me out. You still are yet to say anything about the text size that I brought up several times. And she's like, well, if you want to end the business relationship, why are you talking about the text size? I can make the text size bigger. And I'm like, you're just being very defensive, and it's uncanny to me because I never expected this from you. Like, I don't know. It's weird to me. I'm really trying to help you out and providing you with clear instruction on what's going on so that it doesn't happen again in another situation. And I'm being kind. I'm not even being like crappy about it at all. But the door was open and I walked in. So sorry, I just wanted to share that as an example. But another example, it's going to be a lot shorter, I promise. And then we will move on to the resources. Another example of God providing the right thing at the right time is several months ago, I went to this local pub to get some sushi. It's really like the greatest sushi probably I've ever had. And it's at a pub in Crown Point. That's crazy. It's called Three Monkeys Pub. And I really just go there for the sushi. I'm not like a bar pub type person by any means. But I went there, and this lady walks in that I work with. She's a part of the same real estate team that I'm a part of, but we've never spoken before. She doesn't talk to me, so I wasn't worried about her walking in. I'm just the person that I was with. I let them know, like, oh, she works in my office, and that was it. I didn't even look over there. What am I looking like? We don't talk. You don't talk. I'm new. I feel like as a new person, I'm gonna greet you. Hey, what's your name? Welcome to the team. Like, I never got any type of communication from her. Okay. But she wants to communicate through the bartender, which was so weird. And I've had a hard time letting that go, honestly. But I was able to fully let it go today. So she sends the bartender over to tell me, hey, you like to sell houses? And I'm like, I looked at him like, huh? And then he pointed over there to her, and I was like, oh, hey. Like, that was weird. And at the time, let's be upfront, I hadn't had any deals. I since have had a deal go through, but at that time, I was just the new girl on the block. I hadn't done anything. So you're like, that was almost like bully behavior to me, but I didn't think too much of it. I'm deciding to think best case scenario. Even if somebody has shown me worst case scenario, as she did, I'm still going to put my best foot forward. I'm still going to convince myself that it's all good, because why would I want to take up any energy, take up my peace, and give it away to a situation that is beyond my control? So I'm just going to create peace out of the situation, even if it's not peaceful. You hear me? Okay, I hope you get that. So I just kind of let it go. Didn't think nothing of it. I've spoken to her like, hey, before, but nothing too major. Well, today, God did his big ones. Because I was, like I said, just kind of letting it go. Not really. It was still in the back of my mind. Like, that was really weird. But God did. Oh, he just keeps showing up, okay? So I was a little bit early, and I got my little spot. I was first person there, made some phone calls, handled some business. And by the time I walked back in, there were more people that had arrived, and she was one of them. And she was talking amongst the group, but I didn't even realize that I like sat right aside, like across from her. I didn't do that intentionally, honestly. I was just picking a seat. But she normally sits at this one seat, and the seat that I had picked was right across from her. So when she comes to sit down, she's like all looking at her phone and stuff, and I give her a few seconds to see if she's gonna look up and speak. She doesn't, so I say, hey, how are you? And she's still looking down, and she's like, hey, how are you? And so this was it. This was my time to shine. Well, God's time to shine. But I was like, I don't know if this was God. Lord, forgive me if I'm putting this on you and this was not you. But I really feel like God gave me the platform to say my piece, and I wasn't even looking for it. And I was like, well, dang, girl, you want to send messages across the bar, but when I'm sitting right across from you, you don't want to speak? That's kind of weird. Like that, just how I said it. And she was like, huh? oh yeah, I did see you. So, anyways, moving on. I just wanted to encourage you that you have control over your situation, and if it's meant to be said, if something is meant to happen, it's gonna happen. It will. Just chill and allow it to be as peaceful as it can be until it happens, because it just keeps happening for me. For instance, my rent is continuing to get paid. This is so crazy. I am so grateful. I have money coming in from different things, from work, from school, but I was like, okay, that's enough to pay my rent, but I still have other bills and I still have other things that I want to do and invest in this and put it this here and this here and that. Okay. Well, I get an email last week from what I'm about to tell you about, this resource that's been helping me with my rent for the past since June of this year. They didn't help the whole entire time, but they have helped for a majority of that time. And we're about to get into the details. But I thought it was over with. I thought the last time they helped me was it. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, I got money coming in. It's Christmas. I want to put a down payment on this. I got to fix this on my car, do this and do that. Like, it's all going to work out. I got to get more real estate, more business deals, which is going to happen by any means necessary, by all means necessary. It is happening already. It happened. I'm going to I have over 20 different titles of books, most of them how-tos that I'm going to be producing and putting out to the masses, and not really even for a means to generate income, really just to share the knowledge that I have, as I'm getting ready to do in a few moments. Thank you for your patience. But there's so much going on that will make sure I'm okay. But God just threw this extra one in there for me, and I love him so much for all that he does. So I get an email last week, and the place that's helping me with this rent, they were like, hey, if you still need help, you can recertify. And so they'll give me another payment, which is basically like 2.5 months. So, I hopped on it, I recertified. And so that's going to put me 2.5 months. I'm already paid this month. So January, February, March, pretty much a little bit into April, because I can put my own, what I was going to use from my money coming in. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the rent first. When I first started getting help with my rent, I was living in Nashville. I was going through a divorce, and I needed some help. It was tough. I was out there by myself. I think I may have went to my church first. They may have helped me first. I have disassociated so much, and God is bringing a lot back to me, and I'm grateful. But there's so much just commingled and just crazy. Like, I don't have it all ironed out. I was just living. I was just trying to make it. I was just going. Like, I didn't stop to think, and I haven't really taken time to stop and think about it much since living it. I just still have been kept on living, but I'm grateful for opportunities like this to share it and really relive it and make purpose out of it. I didn't really go through it for nothing. I went through it so that hopefully I could help somebody else too. So I was in Nashville going through this divorce. I probably had lost a job, because one thing about me, I can get any job that I want, but I will quit knowing that I can get any job that I want. So I literally just quit a job yesterday. I told the lady I'm going on my lunch break, and I haven't been back, okay? And I don't plan on going back. Because like I said, I have a plethora of other things that I need to trust God about, instead of looking at what's tangible and what can I get my hands on right now, which wasn't much. It was a temporary job anyways, or that's what I wanted it to be. So yeah, like, God kind of just spoke to me yesterday, and he sent me some confirmation, but it was like, okay, do you trust me, or are you doing what you want to do? Because this is what you do all the time. You do what you want to do, but I'm still asking you to be here and trust me. Again, real estate, writing, just, he's taking care of me. So this was probably during a time that I had quit or lost a job. And I needed some help. So my church helped me for sure. And then I was like, okay, well, if my church helped me, I wonder if other churches could help me. So I started writing letters. Like, I'm really good at writing. That's what my degree is in. So I started writing letters to different churches and saying, hey, this is what I have going on. If you're able, can you help me? If they didn't have an email address, I would literally physically mail them the letter with my contact information. And I've had churches get in contact with me from that and help me out in great ways. So many churches have helped me. That's where the bulk of my help has come from. as a single mother that struggled time and time again, but no more. In Jesus' name, thank you. But shout out to God, because literally my help has come from the house of the Lord, most of the time. There are other resources that have helped me for sure. And I want to say in Nashville, let's see if we can look it up really quickly. I can't really remember, and names change so often that even though it was whatever it was at the time doesn't mean that it is that now. So what I would just suggest, and maybe I can do another episode, a part two to this with a little bit more research. I really just wanted to at least get out there what I know right now. But I can get further knowledge and share it for sure. I have no problem doing that. But just look, just research yourself too. It's not that difficult. You just type in Google rent assistance near me, and so many things will come up. And oftentimes you're gonna hear no, you're gonna hear you got the wrong number, you're gonna hear we're closed, we're out of funds. You're gonna get discouraged, but there's gonna be those ones that come through, and it's gonna blow your mind, just like the one that just came through for me. In addition to that, there's energy assistance always everywhere. I've always gotten energy assistance, especially around these cold winter months. People who don't necessarily need it still get it because it's helpful. Maybe they do need it. I don't know. I'm not the one to call that. But I know people who are well off who still apply for the energy assistance during these months because it is available. And there's mass funds that have helped people for several years as far as energy assistance goes. So look up both of those. Look up rental assistance in my area, energy assistance in my area. But number one, pray to God and ask him to guide you, because he will. You also can write the churches, like I said, email all the churches in your area. I remember, like, I get so intentional about some things. Like, I wish I was more intentional about the things that God has told me to be intentional about, because I know how to get intentional about stuff. Like, when I was reaching out to the churches, I remember, like, again, it's a little boggled, but I think I remember printing out a list of churches and like marking off which ones I had contacted, like at least 50 churches. I said, okay, I'm gonna work my way through. Obviously, that's a lot of work, so I didn't contact all those churches in one day, but I worked my way through that list. I was very intentional. So there's a tool that may be able to help you for sure. I want to talk about this most recent help that I got, and I want to just go back like from the very beginning. Because right now I'm in Indiana, and there is a lot of help in Indiana, and I just want to go back and let you know about all the help that I know about in Indiana, okay? Because it's up to date, it's recent. I recently received the help, so I can give concrete knowledge, versus when I go back and do research on another state, it might not be concrete knowledge. I haven't lived it, I haven't reached out, I haven't done the process. So all I can give you is what I can research, which you could research too. So, but I'm willing to help for sure. So, the way I got back to Indiana was not the greatest way. I was dancing, I was stripping, and I saved up some money to get our place and some furniture, you know, our basic necessities. And God was faithful in that. He definitely provided, but that was not what he created for me. That's not what he ordained or destined for me. I just chose that route. So, and I got my consequences for it, for sure. Another time, another day, we could talk about. But I had got up enough money to move into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment for me and my son. And I was very grateful because I went through a really rough period before that. I was also working from home as a technical advisor for Apple. It was a company that had a third party that had hired us, but we did tech support for Apple products. And I learned a lot of things, and it was fun. And working from home was incredible. I loved that remote job, but I took advantage of it. I did it. That, like, towards the end, I just kind of was like checked out. I don't know. I ended up getting fired because of a situation. I always blame my ex-boyfriend. He had lost his father, and I was trying to cheer him up, and then I got fired. So take that how you want, but I blame him. I always will. It was my choice, but I'll still blame him. So ended up getting fired, and he helped out for a little bit. It was tough, but he did help out for a little bit, and I just realized, okay, I got to figure something out. So I was applying. All of my history is in property management, real estate. I've been doing it for over 10 years now. Um, so that's what I was going for, but it wasn't really hitting like that. I wasn't even really getting no interviews around this time. So I ended up working at Cracker Barrel. I did like waiting a couple of days there, maybe a couple of weeks. I think it was more than a couple of days. And I became a wine tasting attendant at Cooper's Hawk. So I was like, I gotta get some money coming in. I can't keep depending on this man, and it's this hard getting help from him. So and period. You should never put yourself in a position where you're depending on a man, especially if that man is not your husband. Okay, check that. So was working those jobs, and thankfully ended up getting an interview, getting a job. I was working at Prairie Point, which is the second to largest apartment complex in this area. So I was like so grateful. Like God really came through. I actually went through like a whole process of fasting though. Like I told my boyfriend at the time, I'm gonna be celibate. Like I really need God to come through in some areas. So I'm going to sacrifice some of the areas of my life to show him how serious I am about receiving his blessings and positioning myself to be a recipient. So I did that. He came through. Little did I know that was not the job that I wanted. It was complete hell. I was the manager, and all of my employees were older than me. I'm talking about 40s, 50s. So they had such a complex, and they made it so obvious, and they made it so hard for me. Like I would come home crying some days, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That's not what this is about. So I ended up getting this job, and before I even really started working it, I was so behind on my rent. Like I said, his help was not consistent, and it was tough getting his help. So I did put us behind 1 month. I want to own up to that, be transparent. He gave me the money for the rent, and I spent it on Christmas for him, his son, and my son. But I was behind more than a month. So that one little month, he blamed. Anyways, I digress. Sorry, Lord, I'm getting off track. I end up talking to somebody who I had considered a friend, and I knew she wasn't a friend from the beginning, and not just to me. Like she's just not a good person. She's not a good friend at all. There would just be so many signs that would tell me she's just not a good person, and I don't hold it against her because I feel like she really tried to be a good person. My son's about to come up in here, but it just wasn't in her. I don't think she tried as hard. Hi, baby. LG. Your day was good?
Yeah.
That's good. You gonna come give me a hug or kiss or something?
Yeah, what this?
I'm finishing recording, so you're gonna have to give me a second.
Oh, we can go to the gym.
Yeah, sure can.
I'm finna get ready for it.
Okay. Thank you. Long clothes too.
Yep.
You had a great day?
Yep.
That's good. Can't wait to hear about it.
Can I show you something?
Yeah. Are you cool? Not a fight. I don't want to see a fight.
Breakfast time. Like as soon as I walked in the building, Kia right there, she had walked past me with Mr. Dickinson.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. They be early with it. Oh God. Oh, crazy Nemo.
I gotta stop dead for real.
You gotta start fasting, like I told you.
That be OD, folks.
You need to start fasting.
They won't over me this time.
Help us, Lord. Okay, so I think I remember where I was at. Yeah, this friend that I thought I had. But I just want to give one example of when I should have known. Like we would go walking often at this local community center, and she didn't want anybody to like go in front of her. Like she felt like you don't even know how many laps this person has done. You have no idea where they're. But she just like had this complex of being superior, of being like number one first. So that should have told me right there not to move in with her. Oh my gosh, that should have been my number one sign, even though there were so many other signs for sure. But I went against my better judgment, and I was like, hey, because she had shared with me several times how her and her husband had seen me struggle, had seen me go through, and she was like, oh, we should have reached out and let you know. You could have came and stayed with us, but I'm glad to see you got through it. So when I was at this crossroads where I'm getting this new job, but I'm so behind on my rent, I don't really know how I'm gonna catch up, what this is gonna do, if they're gonna they're not gonna renew my lease because I'm so behind, I'm pretty sure. So I was looking for another place. I was looking for honestly, I was looking for a room in somebody's house because I didn't like have much, and I wanted to do like a short-term lease while I got my money up from this new job. So I was looking on Craigslist, I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and I had found a couple of places that I was interested in. I had applied for them, but they didn't work out. They ended up choosing other better fits. So my back was really against the wall, and I was like, hey, let me reach out to her because I don't really know where else to go at this point. So I reached out to her and I was like, look, I was gonna be paying, you know, $500 a month to another person, a stranger anyways. Why not give that money to you? If you're willing to help me out, we could help each other out. So that was the agreement, me coming in. And as I mentioned, that job did not work out. It was hell for the entire time that I was there. And yeah, I ended up getting fired, which was crazy because even in my termination papers, it says Sierra did a great job as a manager. She oftentimes went above and beyond her duty and what was in her role, but it just wasn't a good fit in the office. And it's like, it's just so crazy, but I'm so glad. I'm so grateful to God because all that got me here where I need to be. But yeah, so I ended up moving in with her and losing the job. And because I wasn't paying, stuff started getting a little funny. And obviously, it was very difficult for me. I didn't have a job. I still got a car note. I still got a son I got to take care of. Like, just because I don't have a job doesn't mean that I'm just out here free nilly. Like, no, I have to figure out how to take care of my business. And so I took out a loan. I was hanging out with people I probably shouldn't be hanging out with, just making sure that the bare minimum was taken care of, but I was still struggling. And they started acting funny because I wasn't giving them their money. So that's basically what happened. I decided that I would rather salvage whatever was there, which I should never even tried to make that decision because it didn't work out. But I was like, instead of us ruining our friendship, is literally what I said. I said, instead of us ruining our friendship, which it never was that in the first place, I was just delusional. I'm gonna move to a shelter. Me and my son, we're gonna get our stuff together. I'm gonna put it in a storage and I'm gonna move to a shelter because you're asking me for money and I don't have no money to give you. I barely have money to make it on my own. You see, if anybody knows my situation, you see. I literally told her like a month before they asked me for the money that I was falling into a deep depression. Like I have the text messages that show like I was not okay at all. And what you need, babe? Your charger? It's right here. So long story short, I ended up like sleeping in the back of my truck last year. This happened last year, like maybe around September. And my son was sleeping with my mom. Me and my mom, we get along, but we just can't really be together for too long, or won't get along. So I was like, I'm gonna sleep in the back of my truck. I was cool with it. I kind of made a little apartment back there. It was lit. Like I loved that time, to be honest. I don't want to go back. Jesus, Lord, please. But I made the best of it. And I was applying for jobs, still applying for jobs. I ended up getting a job in New Orleans. I literally, because while I was staying with them, I was applying everywhere. I'm not working. I'm not able to take care of my kid. I'm going to put my best foot. Like, they're like, why are you applying for jobs in Indy? I had got a job in Indy, but my background check didn't go through. Why are you doing this? Why won't you do stuff local? Y'all don't think I am? I done ate up every application locally. So I'm broadening the horizon because at the end of the day, I'm a mother. And if I got to move to take care of my son, guess what? I guess that's what the Lord has for me right now. So I ended up getting a job in New Orleans and I went to go work that, and I was staying at my grandma's with my auntie, and it was cool, but I wasn't with my son. My son had stayed here with people. So obviously that was just to get some money because it was the only thing that was available, and really I guess to give me a break, to be honest. God had ordained that. Then just so happened I got a call from a job I applied to in Portage out here. It's some new apartments in Portage, Promenade at the Square or something like that, Founders Square. Anyways, I got a call back saying that they wanted me to work there, and this is going to be a little longer than 30 minutes, I'm seeing, but I needed to get all this out there. So hopefully we'll go no more than 40. We'll keep it to 45 at max. So I ended up getting a job out there, and I'm like, okay, this is perfect. They're going to give me a discount on the rent, so I can save up the money that I'm making here and go there, make some more money, and move into a place on site or whatever. So I ended up within like 2 days getting the keys to my place. And then the third day, I kind of quit. I walked out. Them ladies was talking to me crazy. I don't know. It was just weird. Like, it was a whole thing where the assistant manager that was training me, like, she wasn't a good listener. And it really bothers me when people don't listen, because how are you going to know how to respond if you don't listen? Like, I haven't always been the greatest listener, but I am now. I pride myself in my ability to listen. And there would be like residents coming in and trying to get something resolved, or we would go on tours with prospects and they would say something and her response would be completely something different. And they would be like looking at me, and then I try to like interject and be like, hey, I think this is what they meant, like without stepping on her toes and being disrespectful. So this was happening, mind you, all within 2 days. So by the third day, it was happening with me. Like, I would tell her something and she wouldn't remember what I told her, or she wouldn't be listening or whatever. And so I was just like, okay, this ain't for me. I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, I'm not gonna be able to. And they're like, well, give us our keys. And I was like, take them from me. So I ended up staying in there rent free for several months. God worked that out. Obviously I owe them money and I'm probably going to pay it at some point. I don't know. Who knows? Because it was with a number, if you know what that means. So to do the right thing, probably I will do the right thing, because I want as much good karma as I could possibly get. I just want God to know that I want to be right with him, more importantly. So I was living in that free apartment for a few months, and I ended up, going through the process of getting evicted. They gave me a date. So I had about a month to go, and I still wasn't really working at this time. I was doing DoorDash and I was delivering for Domino's, and I think I had another job doing something else, but I don't know. It was like a whole bunch of just little odd end jobs. I wasn't paying rent, so I really just needed the money for my car note, which I was getting a little help with, and to take care of my son. But I knew I needed to save up a good amount of money to get an apartment, because I wasn't going to be able to stay there. And I didn't want to stay there. I didn't want to pay them the money to stay there, because they were probably going to put me out anyways. It was an employee lease, so you can do it at will. So anyways, ended up literally around this time, like I started my job the week of Christmas Eve. So around this time, I interviewed for a job. I got the job. I was working at some apartments in Illinois, Homewood, Flossmoor area in Midlothian. And it was lit, to be honest. It was the worst property, like so run down, the oldest, like most problems, like smallest property. Like it was, everything was not what I was used to, but I enjoyed it. I honestly feel like I had freedom. I was able to really manage it well, because they weren't used to somebody that cared about things. So I don't know, I learned a lot of lessons during that time too, but I was able to get a couple of paychecks and move into where I am now. Okay. So I was okay, I was steady, I was working this job, even though like it was a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on with them properties. Like, I had the city of the village of Homewood come in and issue violations and all type of stuff for stuff that happened way before me, and they wanted me to like lie and say this and that. Like, it was a whole bunch of craziness going on there. I ain't even gonna lie. So God really saved me from that one too. I was already I was already on my way out the door. I had already reinstated my real estate license while I was there. I spent several days there, like doing all the things that I needed to do to reinstate, and applying for other jobs, because as all these things were going on, I was like, yeah, this is not something I really want to be a part of long term. But it provided me the flexibility, the freedom, and the money that I needed at the time. So I tried to do some sneaky stuff, and call off without calling off, kind of like, and still get paid, like only call off if I got called off. And it didn't work out. It really was a little bit of a messy situation. But I ended up going to New Orleans for my cousin's graduation, and I wasn't going to miss that. But I felt like I can get paid, because I ain't gonna miss nothing at the office too. Like, I checked the voicemails, I checked the email. Like, I'm still gonna work. Basically, I'm gonna work remotely. So that was my plan, and I did just that until I went to work, and the key didn't work. So when I made it back, they had changed the locks on me. They didn't tell me I was fired or nothing. They just was like, okay, let her come back. Like, they did me cold-blooded, I ain't gonna lie. But what they didn't know is, while I was there, I was gathering all the knowledge that I could. So not just about the business, but also about the resources out there that are available. So there's a huge resource for Indiana. It's called IERA, Indiana Emergency Real Estate Association. Sorry, that's not what it is. It's Indiana Rental Emergency Association or something like that. But anyways, IERA. And I had learned a whole bunch about it, because even though I was working in Illinois, we did have properties in Indiana. And I was learning about other resources that are out there. So there's Catholic Charities. That was a huge one. They helped me. They pledged money when I was in Portage. Actually, they were willing to pay, but I had to get the remaining balance together, and I was like, I'm not worried about that. Like, I would have if they would have paid. Like, I would have maybe worked, but that was contingent on my help. So, but they ended up helping me to get in here. So to get in here, I had reached out to churches. I'm like, hey, I need a little bit of help with my move-in funds, this, that, and the third. One church that gave me $900. I'm not going to say the church because I don't want people going there and being like, oh, she said you gave her $900. But there are churches out there that will help is what I'm trying to say. So one church gave me $900 towards this apartment when I first moved in. There was another church who had gave me like gas and maybe some gift cards, like Meyer gift cards. One church was like, we can't pay for rent for whatever reason it was against their policy. Thank you, babe. But another church, or they ended up paying my car note. Since they couldn't pay my rent, they decided they were going to help me out in another area, and they paid my car note for me. So there is so much help out there. A majority of my help has come from churches, but this one resource that I got from working with, actually, it first came when I was at Prairie Point, if I'm being honest. I had gained my first knowledge about it when I was there, but there was so much else going on that I didn't need it at the time. I was living with my friend, so I wasn't really in tune with the behind the scenes, like the real details of it. I was just doing my job, like trying to get by day to day. So when I started working at this place, I knew that I needed some help and this, that, and the third. So I got as much information as I could. And I hope that this is making sense, because I feel like I'm rambling at this point, because I'm really trying to wrap this up within the next 4 minutes, and I think I am. And it may be even less than 4 minutes. So, ended up getting fired in May, and I'm like, okay, well, kind of saw this coming, and thank you. And so, I feel like you could have waited. But it's okay. I'm picking my battles, y'all. I really am. Because that's how I be. I be so hard off on it. But it's cool. Create peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, choose to think the best about every situation. Even if the worst is in front of you, still choose to think the best. And go on with your life. Don't lose any peace. So, lost this job, applied for IERA immediately, okay? And I'm just going to spend the rest of this time talking about IERA, and maybe I'll do another episode about any other resources that I may have forgot about on this one. So I applied to IERA immediately. What I did was I called 211, and I did the whole process like with a live person. They were like, you could do it online, but I'm like, nah, baby, we here. Let's get it done. So that's what happened. They ended up, I want to say, within like that next month, within 30 days, before 30 days had passed, they issued a check to my apartment, which covered a couple of months, like 2.5 months. And after that, it was time to recertify, and I was able to recertify and get additional help. But within that time of recertification, I still owed a month. So my ex-boyfriend, he had helped me pay for that specific month, and then he made sure he went on there and he took his card off after I got this help, because when I told him I got the help that same day, he logs on, I get an email and it's like, your card has been removed, and I'm like, I call him like, you logging on to my stuff? Like, that's weird. Like, you could have asked me to remove it, or at least told me like up front, like, hey, I'm getting ready to log on to your stuff to remove it. Like, I don't care that you removed it. But anyways, I digress. He paid that month, and then by that time I had gotten another check from them for the recertification process. So that was another like 2.5 months. Then he paid November. It was kind of tough. I wasn't sure if it was going to come through, because we have been like, it's been a lot of back and forth. We really have not been on the best terms, and I'm not going into 2025 with that. Okay. But he paid November, but I wasn't sure if he was going to pay. So I was like still looking for help other places, calling Catholic Charities, doing this, that, and the third, because I didn't think I was eligible for another recertification. Anyways, so I'm like, I'm going to have to pay it regardless. And I have not been working. I was getting unemployment, which was helping me. I'm working on this real estate stuff, which is helping me. I was getting some student refund checks from loans, which was helping me. I took out a loan, which was helping me. So God has been making it, like ensuring that I'm making it for sure. And I've had random people just bless me with lump sums of money too. So I'm not worried about a thing, but I am going to put my best foot forward and do what I need to do to make sure things are done. So He paid for it in November, but in the meantime, I had spoken with a ministry that I'm involved with and let them know about what was going on too. And they decided they were going to pay for November as well. So I'm like, okay, great. Now I don't have to worry about December. So I had November paid, December paid, and they just emailed me last week talking about let's recertify. So I will have January, February, and March. So March paid. And then I'm going to put some money towards it to make sure that it's paid up until April. So yeah, here we are at 40 minutes. I did that. Come back next week. Don't know what it'll be about, but I hope that you were blessed from this episode.